Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
I'm Tom.
Hey, it's our unit about Taiwan. And for this particular unit, we're spending some time in the beautiful southern city, I guess, in the middle of Taiwan. It seems southern to me. It's the city of Tainan, which is full of historical buildings and has a great heritage there. I've only been once. I need to go back and check it out again. I tend to work too much here in the north. But it's a beautiful place, and we talked about some of its history in day 1. But in day 2, we're focusing on food. So that'll be fun for everybody.
Okay, and again, we're talking about Tainan. I should mention that some people may say Tainan because that's how you pronounce that in English sometimes. So be prepared for people to say that. Hey, where's Tainan? How do I get to Tainan? Oh, you mean Tainan? Yes, you can take the high-speed rail there or any kind of bus. They all go to Tainan. And last time, of course, we talked about the historical aspect of Tainan. We talked about the Anping Fort area. We talked about the Dutch presence in Taiwan. And then when the Dutch were kicked out by Zheng Chenggung, and they set up that fort called Anping. We also talked about the merchant house. We talked about the old, what was that Japanese department store called? Hayashi?
Hayashi.
Yeah, the Hayashi department store. And then, of course, there's an historical building there, which is now the National Museum of Taiwan Literature. But it used to be the government during the Japanese colonial period. And it's now open. You can go in there and check it out yourself. But there are other things to check out in Tainan, especially the food. Yeah. So let's find out about that in today's program. Let's listen now to our article read from top to bottom.
Beyond its rich history, Tainan is known as Taiwan's food capital. Among its best food places are the distinctive night markets. Unlike those in other Taiwanese cities, Tainan's night markets primarily occupy vast parking lots, with vendors setting up temporary stalls for the evening. Adding a unique twist, each market operates only on specific days of the week. As many vendors rotate between markets, no matter which one you visit, you can savor affordable and tasty food, such as oyster omelets and eel noodles. When discussing authentic Tainan cuisine, one cannot overlook the significance of Milkfish, a source of local pride. Thanks to its seaside location, Tainan offers seafood at its freshest. The milkfish caught at dawn is carefully processed by vendors. Its tender flesh is either put into flavorful soups or fried until it's crispy, while the bones are slow cooked into a savory soup. This fish also stars in dishes like milkfish porridge and milkfish balls. On the sweeter side, Tainan offers traditional treats, such as brown sugar bun cakes. These thin, crispy delights have a hollow interior filled with warm brown sugar. While these cakes are traditionally consumed by new mothers for nutrition, nowadays many other people enjoy them. Another specialty is the ginger tomato, a local method of enjoying tomatoes soaked in a mixture of thick soy sauce, ginger, and brown sugar, highlighting the tomato's natural flavors. In Tainan, history comes alive in its landmarks, food, and the stories of its residents. As the city celebrates its 400th year, its charm remains as intense as ever. It's time for you to explore Tainan and be drawn to its stories.
Okay, everybody, it's time for us to explain the contents of today's lesson. Again, we're talking about Tainan 400 from past to palate. And today we're focusing on the palate, or the roof of our mouth, more specifically, your love of food, basically. So beyond its rich history, Tainan is known as Taiwan's food capital. Indeed, Tainan has a reputation for having lots and lots of different kinds of food. People from Tainan kind of complain when they move to Taipei. Oh, the food in Taipei is tasty, but we just got so much more stuff down in Tainan. You guys, you really need to improve your food. food. And so, yes, Tainan does have a lot to be proud of, although I feel kind of ashamed because when I go to Tainan, I don't really indulge in the local foods so much. I'm not much of a foodie. Next time I go, I will check out some of the local dishes.
Well, one thing that shocked me when I went to Tainan was how sweet everything is, even the vegetables I got. My main dish was sweet, and so I thought, well, I'll get kongqing cai. It won't be sweet, but it was. They put a sweet sauce on it. So get used to that or get ready for that if you haven't tasted their food. A lot of it's very sweet. So Tainan is known as Taiwan's food capital, which means, that's where everybody goes if they want some really special dishes. It says here, among its best food places are the distinctive night markets. If something's distinctive, it's quite unique. There are some characteristics about it that makes you think of a place or a person. You might have a friend with a distinctive laugh. And when you hear that laugh, you know exactly who it is. Or you have a friend with a distinctive style. I have a friend who loves to wear hats, and they're always so cool and pretty. They're not baseball caps, they're really kind of cool hats. So if you have a distinctive style, it just means it's very unique. And these are distinctive night markets. They're unlike the night markets we're used to, at least in the south, down in Kaohsiung maybe, and up here in Taipei.
Yeah, you don't have these night markets in other parts of Taiwan. They are distinctive, they are unique, and unlike those in other Taiwanese cities, Tainan's night markets primarily occupy vast parking lots with vendors setting up temporary stalls for the evening. I had not heard about this. I do know that Tainan does have night markets, but I did not know that they occupied big parking lots. Now, to occupy just means you are in a certain place and you're kind of staying there. It could have a negative meaning. We could say that the Americans occupied Japan for a number of years after World War II. They were just there controlling the place. But in this particular case, it just means the night markets are in those big parking lots. And you've got vendors who set up their temporary stalls for the evening in those markets. A vendor, of course, is somebody who sells something.
Or maybe you go to a restaurant and you ask somebody, is this table occupied? Is this seat occupied? It just means, has somebody already reserved it or taken it up? We'll also say, is the seat taken? We'll say that as well. But here, it just fills that space. It occupies that vast parking lot space that they have. They have several parking lots. And the vendors set up temporary stalls for the evening. So they set up the stall for the evening, and then when they're done, they have to take it home because they kind of switch between different vendors depending on what day of the week it is. So that's kind of interesting. So a vendor is just somebody who has something to sell. And we have a lot of vendors here in Taiwan, as you know, on the street. We call them street vendors. And they might have something like jewelry to sell. There's a lady who sells jewelry in my neighborhood. Or they might sell foods like ice cream vendors or cakes. There are lots of different vendors who set up stalls. So adding a unique twist, something that's very different, not what is expected. If you run across something that's not expected, especially in a movie or in a book, and there's a twist, something happens that you just weren't expecting. It surprises you. So what's the twist, Tom?
Well, each market operates only on specific days of the week. So you need to know when a particular market is open. Oh, this market is only open on Tuesday. That one's on Thursday. So, of course, you don't want to go to the wrong place and find it's just a parking lot with a bunch of cars there. So yes, indeed, you will need to know on which nights which particular market is open. And as many vendors rotate between markets, no matter which one you visit, you can savor affordable and tasty food such as oyster omelets and eel noodles. It says many vendors rotate between markets. As here just means because many vendors rotate between markets, then you can savor or try or sample different kinds of tasty food. So to rotate just means to change places. And so, for example, a vendor in Market A will be there on Monday, and then that vendor will go to Market B on Tuesday, and then the vendor who was in Market B on Monday will go back over to Market A on Tuesday. So they kind of rotate, they kind of change places.
Okay, so it says here that it doesn't matter which place you visit, no matter which one you go to or that you decide to try. You can savor affordable and tasty food. It's one of the things that's great about the night markets here. Nothing's too expensive. And it's always delicious. I've never had a bad dish, honestly. So if you savor something, this is a verb, just means you taste something and you enjoy it. Oh, it's just delicious. You can savor something. And usually if you're savoring a dish, you're not just inhaling it or gulping it down. You're taking your time with it. You're really enjoying it. Sometimes, though, when I go to night markets, there's no place to sit down. And so I'm kind of eating whatever I buy as I'm walking around looking at the other stalls. But to savor something, again, just means you're really enjoying something that you're eating or drinking. You can savor a good drink as well. So they've got things like oyster omelets. Everybody knows what those are. And eel noodles. I don't eat eel noodles. Just the whole idea makes me kind of go, ugh. But oyster omelets are delicious.
Yeah, it's kind of like a snake in the sea, an eel. So, of course, they have eel meat with those noodles. I don't know if I've ever had that before, but maybe I'll try it next time I'm down in Tainan. Now, moving on now to the next paragraph, it says, when discussing authentic Tainan cuisine, one cannot overlook the significance of Milkfish, a source of local pride. Indeed, if you go down to Tainan, you will see this kind of fish for sale all over the place. It's authentic Tainan cuisine. If something's authentic, it's real. It's 100% of what it says it is. So, yes, indeed, if you have this milkfish down there, it is authentic. It is representative of Tainan's cuisine. The best milkfish is in Tainan.
They're very, very proud of it. Most places, well, not most places, a lot of places that tourists like to visit have what they call, a local dish or something that they're really proud of. So what they're proud of there is that milkfish. We're going to talk more about this, guys. But right now we're going to take a quick break and listen to our Chinese teacher.
听众朋友大家好，我们昨天带大家到台南去，先回顾了一下历史跟文化，今天要看看台南的美食。好，美食到底有哪些呢？其实走遍台湾大概最有名的都还是夜市啦，那当然台南 is no exception 啊，台南当然也不例外，所以最有名的大概就是台南夜市，可是它跟台北夜市就不太一样哦，基本上它是会轮着在不同的地方啊，就是一直轮转的。好，我们在第一段看到第二句有一个地方副词放句首的倒装，真正的主词是are be 动词之后的 the distinctive night markets， 就是最独特的这个夜市啊，就在最棒的这个最著名的美食场所之一了。那因为文章啊，它地方副词放句首呢，会有强调这个地方副词的意思。那在这里也有一个上下文通顺的功能，因为前文第一句就说台南很多美食所有的美食当中大概就是夜市还蛮独特的，所以根据文意的话，这种倒装句其实它还有承上启下的功能在。好，不过不同于台湾其他城市，我们刚刚说呢，就是这个夜市啊，在台南都是互相轮转啊。那它的场地呢，因为不固定，其实它用的就是停车场，所以第一段的第三句我们还要注意一下哦。那第三句感觉有点长，不过最后面逗点之后的 with 要特别注意一下。with 在这里呢，不是用什么，而是表示一种附带的状况。with 附带的状况是 vendors 摊贩 setting up 会设立暂时的一些摊子，在晚上的时候，那因为受到 with 附带状况本身是一个介系词，它没有连接词功能，所以后面摊贩的设立就会直接用动词 ing 型。好，所以摊贩的设立的状况就是临时的摊位啦。所以每个这个礼拜呢，不同的礼拜几啊，就会不同的轮转。当然在这边的第一段第五句，第一个 as， 这里的 as 我们以前曾经说过，如果 as 当连接词的时候就三个意思， 1. When 表时间。2. Because 表原因。3. 如同好像，就如同某人如何如何，就这3个。那你要根据上下文去推断它的意思。在这里第一段的第5句，因为表原因的关系，所以在这里的 as 是 because 因为摊贩都是在不同的市集轮转啦，所以不管是什么时候你想要吃的时候，大概都可以吃得到，大概就是蚵仔煎啊、鳝鱼意面啊都很好吃。好，那当然如果真的要讲到台南美食，你说蚵仔煎北部也有啊，那鳝鱼意面哪里都有，可是真的是正宗台南美食的时候，我们都知道那个虱目鱼很厉害，对不对？当地人感到非常骄傲。所以第2段的第1句特别注意一下，第1句它其实是个分词构句，可是英文就是很多例外。你说好，分词构句就是 ing 或者是 pp 开头，可是明明在这里就有 when， 为什么还可以保留？这叫做连接词保留的分词构句。有时候我们怕读者不知道我们到底省略的是 when、because、if 还是 although 的时候，有时候连接词干脆保留起来。 When discussing 当讨论到 authentic Tainan cuisine 的时候，谁讨论到？当然是逗点之后的主词。所以 when 人 one discusses， 当有一个人如果真的要谈论到什么的时候，逗点之后的 one真正的主词又出现一次，干脆把连接词保留。我们现在就是强调时间。好，当讨论到台南美食的时候，所以你会发现英文虽然它是一个句子的一个语言中文是一个主题性的语言，但是英文会透过很多句子的简化方式，让文意变得很通顺哦。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, folks. We're on day 2 of Tainan 400, From Past to Palate. We're talking about the tasty dishes that Tainan has produced over the years. And some of those dishes are really popular. In fact, in Taiwan, Tainan is known as the capital, or the food capital at least, of Taiwan. And they've got a lot of great things to offer. They've also got very distinctive or unique night markets. They're set up in parking lots, and they're really big, and they occupy these parking lots for the evening. Vendors will come in and set up their temporary stalls. They're not there permanently. After the night is over, they take them down, take them home. But these vendors also rotate between markets. They're never in one market all the time. So they go back and forth between different places. So no matter which one you visit, you're sure to run into some savory and affordable food. If you savor food, remember, it's really delicious, so you take your time in eating it. And you can try things such as oyster omelets, which we have here in Taipei, I must say, and eel noodles, which might be one of their specialties because they're close to the ocean there.
I always associate oyster omelets with the Shilin night market, but
really?
Of course, they're available all over Taiwan.
Yeah.
So we've mentioned a couple of examples of food in Tainan. We did talk about the authentic dish in Tainan, which is milkfish. You cannot overlook the significance of milkfish. So to overlook something means to not pay attention to something that you should pay attention to. So you cannot overlook the importance of milkfish, okay? Again, we have the significance of milkfish. If something's significant, that means it is important, it is vital, it's noticeable. You do need to pay attention to it. And indeed, significance is the noun form of the adjective form significant.
Yeah, so what you're finding down there, guys, of course, is authentic food. If something's authentic, it's like the real thing. It's genuine. It's an original. Actually, it's hard to find authentic food sometimes, even though you'll go to restaurants and they'll say, oh, we're a Mexican food restaurant, but it's really not authentic. It's usually a food that has been cooked to please the current palate. So if we're in Taiwan, they'll change the food a little bit to make it more appealing to Taiwanese who like different things than, say, the Mexicans. Authentic can be used also to talk about something that's real. It's not fake. So if you're buying authentic leather, it's not fake leather, or authentic jade. I've seen a lot of jade copied here and sold as a real thing. So make sure that if you're buying something that's supposed to be authentic or real, that you're getting the real deal. Go to places you can trust. So you can't overlook that milkfish if you go to Tainan. Now, that's one thing I did overlook, Tom. I didn't try the milkfish. I know it's a source of local pride. They're very proud of it, but I'm not a big fish eater. But this is a place to try it if you want some good milkfish because it's close to the sea. It's in a seaside location. Tainan's right there by the sea, and it offers seafood at its freshest. The most, of course, the tastiest seafood is always the seafood that is the freshest, of course.
Of course, milkfish is available all over Taiwan, but of course, Tainan has the advantage of being right next to the sea. So if you want the best and the freshest milkfish, then go to Tainan. And the milkfish caught at dawn is carefully processed by vendors. So they catch the milkfish from the ocean at dawn, which is the beginning of the day, and it's processed by the vendors. It's, skinned and cleaned and prepared and all that. And its tender flesh is either put into flavorful soups or fried until it's crispy, while the bones are slow cooked into a savory soup. So there are different ways to prepare milkfish here. You can make it into a soup, or you can fry it until it's crispy, that it makes sounds when you chew on it. And then the bones are not thrown out. The bones are actually made into a savory soup, a flavorful soup, and they are slow cooked. In other words, they cook them for a longer period of time than other kinds of dishes.
I was just looking them up to see what they look like, and they're not that big, but they're also very popular in the Philippines. I'm not surprised because they're surrounded by water as well. So if you want to get some great milkfish, you want to go down there and eat them after they're caught and processed. Whatever the process they use for them. It's tender flesh. If it's tender, it's easily ripped or hurt, so be careful with that. Its tender flesh is either put into flavorful soups that have a lot of flavor, or, and this is probably the way I'd eat it, fried until it's crispy. Crispy things that make that crunch when you put them in your mouth. I like crunchy, crispy food. If I have a choice, I always go crispy. While the bones are slow cooked into a savory soup. Now remember, we talked about savor as a verb, but savory is a little different. Savory soup just means it's more of it's the opposite, I would say, of sweet. And it's got more of that umami taste to it. And if you want really good soups, the best thing to do is to slow cook whatever you're cooking, but especially to add those bones. Even if you take them out later, the bones will give that soup a nice flavor. But savory here is just a really umami taste, It's something that is quite delicious. So this fish also stars in dishes like milkfish porridge. We have a lot of porridge here. It's like mush that we call in America, oatmeal mush. But porridge is very popular, and milkfish balls. Now, I have had the milkfish balls. Those are pretty good. I like those.
Does sound tasty. And moving on now to the next paragraph, it says, on the sweeter side, if you prefer things that are sweeter and not so savory, Tainan offers traditional treats such as brown sugar bun cakes. Okay, what are those? Well, these thin, crispy delights have a hollow interior filled with warm brown sugar, which sounds very, very sweet. And while these cakes are traditionally consumed by new mothers for nutrition, nowadays many other people enjoy them. So, yes, traditionally, this particular snack was consumed by new mothers. They just gave birth to a child, and of course, they have to 坐月子, they have to sit on the month, as we say. We don't say that in English, that's just a direct translation. But nowadays, of course, most people enjoy them, but I think new mothers probably still eat them as well. They are consumed consumed by new mothers. To consume just means to use something or to simply eat something.
Right. Consume just means to use it up as well, right? You can consume oil and gas. If you consume too much water, that's actually not so good for you either. So it could be food, drink, or any sort of thing that you use until it's gone. So it's consumed by many new mothers for nutrition, and nowadays, in current times, nowadays just means these days we're living in right now. Nowadays, we could say in the past, in the future, nowadays is right now. So nowadays, many people enjoy them. They sound a little too sweet for me. Another specialty is something called ginger tomato, which sounds really interesting. So this is a local method of enjoying tomatoes, which they soak or put in a liquid mixture of thick soy sauce, ginger, and brown sugar. And they believe that these flavors highlight the tomato's natural flavor. So that's another dish you might look for. A specialty is something that someone's really good at. It doesn't have to be food, though. If it is food, it could be a type of food that a person or a region is famous for making really well, a chef's specialty. Chef special is usually the dish he's making that particular night. But you could have a specialty as a doctor or a lawyer. Maybe your specialty is bones, or as a lawyer, your specialty is corporate law. So those are specialties. So moving on to the last paragraph in Tainan, history comes alive. You know, it's like going back in time if you go see their landmarks, eat the food, and listen to the stories of the residents, the people who live there.
If you do have a chance to talk to those people, I'm sure you can hear lots of interesting stories and get some interesting information. And as the city celebrates its 400th year, its charm remains as intense as ever. Yes, indeed, it's still as charming as it always has been. It's time for you to explore Tainan and be drawn to its stories. Yes, the time has arrived. You should go down there and check it out. And yes, I've wanted to go down there because I believe they have that open-top bus there like they do in Taipei.
Oh, really?
I think I'd like to ride that around
instead
of trying to get to all these places on my own. That can be quite a hassle.
Yeah, I walked a lot when I was down there.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation. Here comes our Chinese teacher.
好，我们刚刚讲到这个虱目鱼啊，当然就是因为台南在海边嘛，所以海鲜都是超新鲜的啊。虱目鱼的话呢，就是清晨黎明的时候就要去捕啊，捕了之后就会做一些处理。在第二段的第3句特别注意一下 ，the Milkfish 虱目鱼逗点之后的 caught at dawn， 它是一个关系子句的简化，当然关系词就是逗点之后的 which。还有一个就是 be 动词 is， 虱目鱼它就是在清晨黎明的时候被捕捉、被捕获，这是一个被动的概念。好，句子简化关键，连接词汇举不见之后，后面动词 is 变成分词 be-ing， 可是句子的简化就是要简化，要精简。be 动词是功能性的动词，没有意义，所以 be-ing 也删掉。好，在这里是关系子句简化，那怎样呢？他在黎明时被捕获。总而言之呢，摊贩就会很精心的去 process 去处理，然后有这个肉啊做汤啊，然后或者是鱼骨啊可以熬成汤品啊。接下来第二段的第4句逗点之后的 while 就不是 when 的意思咯，而是表示对比对照。对比对照什么呢？逗点前面指的是 tender flesh， 这个肉啊很好吃。逗点之后 while the bones， 而鱼骨呢不用丢掉哦，还可以熬成汤，然后还可以做成什么虱目鱼粥啊、虱目鱼丸啊之类的。所以基本上呢，大概呢最具有代表性的就是沙巴鱼啦，就是虱目鱼。当然还不能够缺少甜点啦，所以接下来第3段我们看到甜点呢，台南有一些比较传统的甜点，比如说 brown sugar bun cakes， 就是所谓的黑糖碰饼啊。那这个黑糖碰饼其实本来是那个新手妈妈，就是妈妈坐月子的时候要吃的，因为它就是很补这样子。但是这种传统的这个黑糖碰饼呢，其实大家都很喜欢吃。好，我们在第3段的第3句第1个字也看到一个 while， 可在这里的 while 并不是刚才第2段第4句的对比对照哦。 它指的是虽然 although 的意思，表示一种让步。这个让步是什么意思？就是说 OK 好，我承认这件事。前文 OK 好，我承认这传统的碰饼呢，基本上呢就是大家都喜欢。好，我承认就是说呢，它是做给这个坐月子的妈妈吃的，但是很多人还是喜欢吃耶，所以它也是一个代表性的东西。让步的意思是这个，所以你看 while 从 when 的功能一直到然而对比对照，让另外一直到第三种常放句首表示 although 这种功能，在高中英文当中也是重点哦。这 while 这个字要特别的注意。好，接下来还有一个就是姜汁番茄啦，这大家都觉得很棒，对不对？它当然北部的夜市也有，但是其实道地就是台南的特产啊，姜汁番茄。所以接下来我们看到第四句的地方，第三段第四句，这姜汁番茄其实最重要的还是它的这个酱汁啊，所以特别讲这个酱汁。我们从逗点前面有一点长哦开始。A mixture of thick soy sauce, ginger, and brown sugar. 逗点之后的 highlighting 是关系子句简化哦。原本还原句子是 which highlights， 而这个酱汁啊，它就强调出、凸显出番茄的天然风味。所以一样 which 删掉 highlights 变成 highlighting， 你看句子的简化就会剩下 ing 或者是 pp。当然最后一段呢，我们就要把这个台南这个城市做个收尾。不过特别注意一下第二句哦，第二句一开始这里的 as其实它有 when 的功能。好，当台南正在庆祝400年历史，随着台南现在已经发展了400年，它是一个时间的功能，跟刚才我们第一段第5句 as 表示 because 的文意就不同。好，所以今年这个寒假呢，如果真的有空的话，不妨可以到台南去走走。我是安娜，我们下次见。
That's it for today. I certainly hope you enjoy your next trip to Tainan. It does sound like a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to going there again myself, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you in our next program, so please join us then. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.